Hey everyone, it's Valid. In this episode, we're diving deep into the international student journey, what it's like to live and study in the UK, with a special spotlight on Durham University. We'll also explore what life looks like after graduation. Whether you're dreaming of studying abroad or just curious, stay tuned for a lot of insights. Welcome to Going Global with Naseem Khan Consultancy. I'm your host, Valiv. I would like to introduce my co-host, Mr. Hassan Khan, who graduated from Queen Mary University in 2014. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Valid.
It is my absolute pleasure to introduce, all the way from Durham University, Matthew Jarvis. Matthew, this is your first time in Pakistan. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here. We've been spending a lot of time over these few days going into institutions. How have you found the institutions, the cuisine, and the people in Pakistan?
Yeah, firstly, thanks a lot for having me. It's been a real pleasure. Like you said, it is my first time in Pakistan, and we're on day 3 now, so I'm still learning and stuff. But it's been fantastic so far. The hospitality of the people, obviously the hospitality and welcome of you guys has been great as well. Let me think back to yesterday. We went to some institutions. I think we started at Lahore American School. That was a fantastic institution. We spoke to a group of students there. A lovely auditorium. One thing that impressed me was the sort of teaching, the teacher to staff ratio, or student to teacher ratio, I think was about 4:1, which is just excellent to hear from institutions here. We went on to LGS Defence. So we went to phase 1 and phase 5. Again, we spoke to groups of fantastic students, really engaged, really qualified as well. Asked some fantastic questions in those sessions as well. Before we visited LUMS, and I had some sort of direct one-to-one conversations with small groups of students at a different level. So these were looking at postgraduate studies, weren't they? And they were so engaged, really qualified students, academically perfect, fit the bill for Durham University fantastically. I was really impressed with LUMS as well. So for being only day 3 of my trip to Pakistan, it's been wonderful so far. Yeah, so thanks for having me.
Oh, fantastic. Now, I wanted to add in the introduction as well, Matthew has had 14 years of experience at both as an official representative of a number of universities, and now he works on the other side with the university itself in student recruitment. Hassan, do you have any questions for Matt?
So one question I have is the University of Durham has an excellent ranking and reputation globally. They're ranked within the top 10 universities in the UK, but they're not very well recognized in Pakistan. So why do you feel that is? And can you talk a little bit about what sets Durham apart from other institutions in the UK and globally?
Yeah, certainly. So I think there's a few things here. Students who are looking to go abroad will look at different destinations, but within the UK, there's like bigger, more famous cities than Durham. So we don't have the recognition that a city like London or like even Manchester or Edinburgh will have. So we're already fighting against that. A lot of students will stumble across us because of our ranking and reputation, which is fantastic. But then I guess it's my job, with the help of guys like you guys and what we're doing in Pakistan, to raise the profile of the city and the university itself. I think that's partly why Pakistan, or rather Durham, is less recognized in Pakistan than perhaps it should be. But also as an institution, we haven't engaged actively in Pakistan as much as we should have over the last 5 years, 10 years. Whilst there have been other universities visiting, I'm really looking forward to engage much more closely and much more regularly to help raise the profile of Durham University in Pakistan. Your other question was about things that make Durham sort of unique and stand out against other universities. And I think that's part of it. We are not a big city. We've got a population of maybe 80,000, 100,000 people. About a quarter of that, about 22,000 people in the city are students. So it's a very student-centric sort of city. The university plays a huge role within the city itself. Students that come to Durham will feel really engaged and part of what is going on around them, in contrast to like a London university or a Manchester university, where there's the potential to feel a little bit more isolated amongst the sort of hustle bustle of the city. So that's one thing that sort of sets us apart a little bit. It's probably also an opportunity to speak about our colleges and our collegiate setup, because this is unique. Oxford and Cambridge have this, but they divide their colleges by their teaching. There isn't really any other university in the UK that has the college set up in the way that Durham has. So we have 17 colleges. And the easiest way I sort of explain this to students to help them understand is, if you think about Harry Potter, you're familiar with Harry Potter, right? And the 4 houses in Harry Potter, and how each house has its own sort of crest and colours and character. Our 17 colleges are similar to that. They've all got fantastic facilities, but they've each got their own sort of personality as well. So some will excel in sort of college sports, some will excel in volunteering and outreach, some are excellent for their catering facilities. We've got old colleges. There's an 11th century castle, for example, in the middle of Durham, and that's owned by the university. It's one of our colleges. So we have students living in a castle, which other universities don't have. So that's one thing we like to boast about at Durham. And that college experience is going to play a huge part in a student's sort of life in the UK. And that really is sort of the biggest difference between coming to study at Durham versus some of the other top universities in the UK.
One thing I found really interesting is the student retention at the University of Durham, at Durham University, is 97%. Now, can you talk a little bit about why that is? Because all of our students who've gone have had exceptional experiences, and I feel that's not highlighted enough.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's partly down to the way that we're set up, especially with the colleges. It's a 97.25% continuation rate, we call it. And you can look up continuation rates. All universities will publish this. We're one of the best in the country. And I think because we're set up in the way that we are with our colleges, it's really easy for us to support our students on a much smaller scale. So students are not just one of 22,000 sort of joining the university, and again, potentially feeling a little bit lost amongst everything that's going on. They're also joining a college where there's 200 to 500 students living. So they're also part of this much smaller community, and their colleges become like their extended family, and they're going to see mentors and like tutors, and we've got a pastoral care within our colleges. They're going to be much more familiar and closer to those within their colleges. So those support networks are there to help them. It means that we can keep a much closer eye on students, and students can feel much more comfortable coming to us when they've got issues as well. And I think that's a large part as to why our continuation rate is so high. But also we look to take on the best students. So they're always coming and they're engaged, and they're always really sort of active in their learning. So they really drive themselves to get to the end of their programs, and that's sort of reflective of that figure.
Except when you're talking about Durham, it takes me back all the way to when I was going for my undergrad, and when I got to the airport, I could do whatever I wanted, but I didn't know what to do. And when I heard about Durham, that when you land into Newcastle Airport, you've got that bus service all the way to the university. What a brilliant idea. And what are the other things that you are doing as student support systems at Durham University?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for picking up on that. So we offer this meet and greet service. So I think every university is going to want to take care of their international students. They're making a big commitment coming to the UK and spending a lot of time with us. So every university are going to have these support networks in place. I think having the colleges makes us unique in that regard. And one thing that we have, like you said, is the airport meet and greet service. So every year we have 2 suggested dates of arrival for international students. And if they're coming into Newcastle Airport, which already is smaller than Heathrow, so you're not feeling quite as overwhelmed when you touch down. But when you come through security, pick up your luggage and walk through the gates, there's a Durham team there, and they will welcome you as long as you've registered for this service, which is free, by the way, free of charge to all students, internationals arriving. There's a Durham desk there, Durham team to help welcome the students. We will put you onto coaches, which will take you into Durham. And from there, we'll make sure that you get to your colleges. So it's a door-to-door service as soon as you touch down in the
How
UK.
fantastic. You know, when a student gets there, the university that they're going to is at the airport ready to pick them up.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
there's no better way to start an academic year, especially when you're going to a new country. It can be very daunting for students, especially younger students that are going for their foundation programs, that are going for their undergraduate programs. And Durham does that. I think, you know, that speaks volumes about the institution itself, that they look after their students. And that is what Hassan was trying to imply, that they've got that 97% rate of completion of their graduate programs and undergraduate programs.
Yeah, and then from there, so international students are suggested to arrive on the Wednesday and Thursday, but home students won't typically arrive until that weekend or the week after. And so internationals have a few days ahead of that to settle themselves into the city, to settle themselves down into their accommodation and explore things themselves a little bit. The university then has some sort of international focused events that go on the Friday especially. And then the following week, all week is open to all new students, home and international. It's welcome week, it's freshers week, you might hear it called. And there's loads of activities across the university, from academic level, from college level, from the wider university level, to introduce students to just everything that's going on at the university.
So I feel at a personal level, when I joined university in the UK, there's a huge culture shock, because over here in Pakistan, you don't realize it, but you're used to being pampered completely on every level. And now all of a sudden you're on your own and you need to manage yourself, you need to manage your time, you need to manage your academics, and you build new relationships and networks. Now, for me, one huge support was societies. And initially it took me a little bit of time to get into it, but once I did, I loved my experience. What kind of facilities and what kind of advice would you suggest to students who are coming either in January or that are joining in September?
It's a very good point. And look, I've worked with students for like 14 years, sending them to the UK. And you're right, it is daunting and they can feel lost and overwhelmed. But it's not just internationals. Home students are feeling the same. It's the first time these guys have lived away from the home. And like I said, for internationals, we have those welcome activities to help introduce them, help them feel comfortable. But the advice, I guess, I suggest is try and do what you can to engage with these. And at Durham, we do pride ourselves on that wider student experience. We have like an 85% participation rate in extracurricular activities. So the message to students, I guess, is really try to engage yourselves with the classroom, with your academics, but also beyond the classroom. There's loads of chances to get involved in sports, music, theatre, or just like any of our clubs and societies which are a bit more social. And the more you put yourselves out there, the more you're going to get from your university experience, the more networks that you're going to build for your future as well.
So coming from Pakistan, we are alien to the concept of having a personal tutor and how important it is to have that good relationship with your personal tutor. And I was reading up on the website that you've got around 1,100 career events happening during the year. You've got 365 days and you've got 1,100 career fairs going. That means it's roughly around about 3 career fairs a day.
Yep.
Now, when I went, I missed all the deadlines to apply. I didn't even know about it. And the university has 3 events happening every day. So I want you to elaborate, how important is it for students to get organized as quickly as possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the careers fairs and organizing themselves for what comes next, that starts from day one, essentially. We have like job fairs, we bring employers onto campus. We have events that are led by industry on department level as well. So these will happen from within your program and within your department. Some of them are bigger and organized by the careers office themselves, which are open to all the students in the university. But it's something, preparing yourself for what comes next is something we will help support students on, but students should also be thinking about that from the moment they join. I mean, the first question they should ask, or one of the questions they should ask when they're choosing their university, is, what is it that they want to achieve afterwards, and how is this program and this university going to help them get there. And then through the university, they're picking up those skills, they're starting those networks, engaging with these sort of organizational led events that we're putting on, and networking and engaging, similar to my previous answer. As long as they're engaging, they're setting themselves up well for the future.
Now, with the exchange rate so high, so now if you compare British pound to the Pak rupee, it's getting extremely difficult for students as well as parents to fund their education. What kind of scholarship opportunities does Durham offer international students from Pakistan?
Yeah, I get that concern. Tuition fees in the UK are high. Durham is a top-ranked Russell Group university, and our tuition fees are reflective of that too. But there are opportunities within Durham itself. We have an international scholarship, which all Pakistani students will qualify for automatically, providing they qualify for an offer from Durham. They will get this scholarship. It doesn't apply to business and certain law students, but outside of that, STEM subjects especially, we're pushing quite hard. Students will qualify for arts and humanities, social sciences. They'll qualify for this £5,000. If they're an undergraduate student, this is applied across all 3 years, so that will be £15,000. Beyond that, there are also sort of external bodies that students can explore. So there's a Commonwealth Scholarship, there's a Chevening Scholarship, some of these are full board scholarships. And if students, I don't have as much knowledge about this myself because it's not issued, we're not involved in that process. But if students speak to like consultancies such as yourself at Naseem Khan and get that support, they can be introduced to what opportunities there are in terms of funding and scholarships. Yeah.
Hassan's looked after a number of Chevening applications, and he has systematically, from step number 1 all the way to the interview process, has guided students over these past 3-4 years. In regards to Chevening, Hassan, what do you suggest is the most important aspect that students should consider while creating that application?
So I think it's important to understand what the scholarship is and who it's offered to. So it's actually offered to students who actually want to come back and contribute to the country and larger society. So once you've got that focus in place, I feel you should build your profile accordingly. And there's a number of layers to that. So it's selecting your universities and selecting your courses, and why are you going for those courses, and how will that help you contribute later on, and then applying for the scholarship. And obviously the scholarship has its own criterias. Once you've applied, then the most important thing is the interview and understanding how you can get your point across. So obviously everyone has their own personal experiences, but I would say it's important for preparation. And I've looked after a number of students preparing for the interviews. So if anyone does have any concerns, they can always get in touch.
They should do that, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
and to be honest, that application, that process sounds very similar to what they should be thinking about when applying to universities and to the programs. They need to think about what it is that they want to do in the future and what skills and experience do they need to get. And that will help guide them into what sort of program and what sort of university they should be choosing as well. So I think there's similarities there as well.
So one thing I wanted to touch upon is it can be quite daunting for students when it comes to the application process. And when you're looking at top-ranked universities, at times students shy away from selecting them as options for the pure fact that they don't want to receive a rejection. Now, especially in UCAS, you've only got 5 options. Now, I wanted you to give your advice when it comes to students who are selecting their university options now and students who plan on applying later on next year or the year after. How should they prepare their profile, and how should they target their application process? What advice would you have for them?
Yeah, again, that's another good question. First step, students should speak to consultants like Naseem Khan Consultancy, because you guys have the knowledge and the relationship with universities such as Durham. So you'll understand on a wider perspective than me as an individual who's representing one university. So that honestly, that should be the first step students take. But at Durham, so all UK universities will publish sort of entry requirements on their websites. So it's fairly easy to understand what level they need. What is difficult to understand is maybe how that translates to their qualifications in Pakistan. And at Durham University, actually, we've done some work to establish who or where the best students are coming from. So we try to recognize the strength of students from the top institutions in Pakistan, such as LUMS and the Hall School of Economics and IBA Karachi. And we work, our entry requirements sort of reflect that in the way that we accept students from these institutions, because we recognize the strength of students coming from these institutions. And hopefully through the connections we have with you guys, you can understand that and make sure we can help speak to students about what level they need to get at and to come. And actually that came up in conversation, didn't it? Yesterday we were speaking to a group of students and they had these concerns and asked these concerns. Then when I was looking at their GPAs, they're like 3.3, 3.5, 3.6. I was like, look guys, you guys are studying at a fantastic institution in Pakistan with excellent GPAs. These are not going to be a problem. I think giving them that confidence to actually go for it is part of the process too.
I think that's an exceptional tailored approach, because some institutions they're tougher and they demand more from their students, and being flexible with those students does go a long way.
Yeah, because there are differences, right? I don't think it works to have one approach for every student from an entire country, because there are differences. So yeah, I'm really pleased that we were able to take this approach, and I'm here to speak to students about it. So yeah.
Now, there are lots of students that get pressurized by their parents, because most of the students, they are funded by their parents, and there's some set subjects that their parents are forcefully telling them, listen, we want to go for law. You should go for engineering. You should go for medicine. And this is the only 3 courses that you should go for. What should those students be doing at the age of 16, 17, 18, before they apply to university?
Good question. So I'm a parent of 2 young girls myself. So my first answer is, have that conversation with your parents. They are young, they're 16, 17. Your parents may know better in many regards. So listen to parents and have that conversation. The message to the parents is listen to your children, because students need to be engaged with the content of the program. They need to feel like it's something that they want to pursue and feel like it's a career that they want to move towards. And without that, it becomes much easier for them to struggle, whether it's to struggle with the sort of academic rigor of the program or just like struggle mentally handling these pressures from the parents. So parents should also sort of listen to the needs and the interests of their children. And hopefully they can come to an agreement on what will work best for them in terms of future opportunities that can match their child's interests, and trying to find a program that matches their interests, that they're going to feel passionate about, I think is really something that we should push students to do, because that way they're going to be way more engaged with the content of the program. They're going to get much more enjoyment out of their time at university.
I think information is key. The more you're informed about what the student, your child, wants to study, and how do you do that? You should do internships. This is what professionals are actually doing. And if that is something that interests you, then yes, law might be a possibility of a program that you want to study at university. But if it's not that, then there's such a wide range of courses, programs that are available at university level that you should pursue. So the most important thing I feel, and I'll ask Hassan the question as well, is that it's extremely important to not be afraid. Try different things, regardless the course that you want to study. If it's engineering, go to manufacturing units. There's so many in Pakistan. There's so many in Lahore. There's so many in Faisalabad. Explore, and maybe you find the thing that excites you.
Yeah, exactly. I think university plays many roles and is educating students, but it also gives students, especially at undergraduate level, the chance to learn about themselves. And the subject of a degree is not necessarily the be-all and end-all. Lots of programs and subjects will open doors across multiple different careers. I studied architecture, and I didn't plan to go into sort of support student recruitment, but that's the path I found post-education, I guess. And I've really enjoyed myself. And I might not have ended up here if I hadn't gone through that process of the education and learning about myself. So university offers more beyond the classroom, and that education, that degree that they're getting opens up more doors in that specific field as well.
How interesting. You went for architecture, I went for mechanical engineering, and Naseem went for electrical engineering, and now we're in the field of education.
Yeah, exactly.
It is a strange dilemma. And I think I agree with you 100%. Students should try different things.
Yeah.
And from there, you might find the right fit of program for yourself.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you $1 million question.
Go on.
And that $1 million question is, the UK, the US, which one do you prefer?
So look, I'm biased. I'm British. I grew up in the UK and went through the British education system. My job now is also to sell education in the UK. I'm not here to tell students that one is correct or one is wrong or one is better than the other. I would advise students to think about how they differ and which one's going to be the best fit for them. British education in itself has a fantastic sort of reputation. Employers around the world are going to recognize the strength of a graduate from a UK institution, especially universities in the Russell Group who are highly ranked, like Durham ourselves. There's also global employer rankings as well. So we're 65th in the world for global employer reputation. So, I mean, the top companies around the world recognize the strength of a Durham graduate. So we've got that going for ourselves. Also, a UK degree at undergraduate level is 3 years, and at postgraduate level it's 1 year. That's a year less than many countries, like the US especially, but even I think Australia, Canada, where it's 4 years. So you're saving, in a sense, an extra year as well. The programs might be a bit intensive. Actually, the programs themselves are slightly unique as well, in that in UK, you're coming to study a much more subject-specific program. Typically, although Durham does have this option in a way that a lot of universities don't, but typically in the UK, most programs will be quite subject-specific. So it does help to have an idea of what direction you want to move into, because you are going to be studying a specific subject on your program. But then there's flexibility within that field to tailor your program. So in the UK, you will take core modules and elective modules. Mm-hmm. So the core modules are designed to give students the sort of foundational knowledge that you need across that sort of subject. And then the optional modules supplement that and will be a bit more specific, but will still be within the field that the student is studying, so that they can start to tailor their education around their specific interest within their field.
And I wanted to ask that with the University of Durham, with Durham University, and with the UK, how do you support students professionally and help them land internships, placements, and finally jobs in the UK?
Yeah, so there's a few things here. We're very much a research-led institution, and 95% of our research is classed as excellent or world-leading. But what that means in a practical sense for students is that all of our professors are sort of actively researching. They're active in their industries. So they've got fantastic connections in their fields, in their industries. They're engaging with their fields professionally. And students are getting to learn and engage with their professors in a small classroom basis and on a one-to-one basis too. And so they can start to build those networks from their classroom with the professors that they're studying with. And a lot of the time, the students that go on into roles in their profession, in their fields, those links and connections have come from networking with their professors. Beyond that, from a sort of university level, we have a careers and enterprise team. These are the ones who organize a lot of these employer sort of events that we spoke about before. And the careers team also put on all sorts of sort of activities for students to engage in. We have job fairs. We get guest speakers to come in to deliver lectures as well from industry. And you mentioned over 1,000 events that we've done throughout the year. We also have a database that students can engage with for job searching. And there's a way to filter for international students specifically so that they can seek employers who are offering sponsorship to international students. And it's worth also adding that support from our careers team lasts a lifetime. Even after a student graduates, they can still access that support from our careers team. And I think I've not seen that commonly from other universities as well. So we try and bridge that gap. Even within the classrooms and the programs, we have field trips which engage with industry. I know our finance and economics programs have engaged with the Bank of England down in London, Bank of China. Our MBA students go to San Francisco, to Silicon Valley. And so we're trying to build students, or we're trying to help students build these networks with industry and with the professional world, so that they're equipped with the skills and the knowledge and those relationships once they graduate.
And if I'm a student and I've just joined university in September, when's the right time to approach the careers team? When's the right time to join these job fairs? What would you suggest on that?
So the job fairs and stuff start quite early. If you're an undergraduate student, there isn't a particular rush because you're here for 3 years. You should certainly be thinking about it by your second year, though. We also offer the option on a number of our undergraduate programs to do a sandwich year. So you can study, essentially, you do a 4-year program instead of a 3-year program, but in your 3rd year, you can do 1 year industrial placement. So you spend a year working in industry where the links have come from the department, or you can do 1 year study abroad. We've got 300 partners around the world, including a lot of top universities on all of the continents in the world. And so there's that option that they can think about in their second year and commit to in their second year to take on in their 3rd year if students wish. So the earlier you start thinking about that, the more opportunities and doors that might open in your future.
And to add on to that, you've got the post-study work visa as well.
Yep.
So any students who are graduating from their undergraduate or postgraduate degree can go on and take another 2 years. And do you find students actually go for that opportunity?
Yeah, and I've helped sort of guide. Look, our team are not responsible for helping students at this stage, but we have a visa and immigration team who do. And it's a question that we get quite a lot because there's a lot of interest in staying in the UK and finding some work before students go back home. Typically, moving from their student visa onto their graduate route visa is super simple. As long as they successfully complete their degree, moving on to the graduate route visa is not difficult at all. The team in Durham will support them. And the university maintains, the university is their sponsor on the graduate route visa as well. So they don't need to worry about finding an employer who's going to sponsor them for 2 years. And at the end of those 2 years from the graduate route visa, if they still want to stay in the UK, they've got the option then to look for opportunities to switch onto a skilled worker visa. There are some challenges and hurdles there. You need to have a minimum sort of salary requirement to get onto the skilled worker visa. But to be honest, if they're graduating from a university like Durham University, they've spent 2 years in the UK working already, they should be at that level to take that step onto the skilled worker visa if they wish.
Oh, fantastic. I find with Pakistani students, going back to the point that you were saying, that you've got all the support. But with Pakistani students, they kind of are shy. They don't want to highlight themselves. Everything is there for them to succeed at university. It's just getting in touch with the right department. And I try to tell my students that it's so important that from day one, you go meet the student union, you go to the career department, tell them that this is my portfolio, this is my CV, I want to apply for jobs. Whatever is required by you, the university has in place. Go to them and they will help you at every step of the way. And students are unaware of it, and there are some students who are very, very shy. So what possibilities do they have at Durham that those students are supported, that if they are shy and they don't want to, highlight themselves, is there any support system within the university to help those students, such as the PakSoc? You've got the Pakistani Society, you've got the Indian Society, you've got all these societies in place. Do they actively go and meet Pakistani students the day they arrive?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. I'm not sure. Have you found that Pakistani students are shy? The ones that I've met have been fantastic. They've been really engaged, which is great. But you're right. International students generally can be shy to come forwards. society, the student union is a place they can go to and engage with. Student union is there to support students at university, put on events and help them sort of engage and network and really feel at home at university. So the student union can help sort of point them in the right direction for where those opportunities are. And you're right, there's societies at university, whether they want to pursue debating or chess club or whatever their interests are, or just engage with other familiar faces. We've got Indian society, Pakistani society, cultural societies, religious societies as well. So there's loads of opportunities. And when students arrive, one of the fairs I actually attended a couple of weeks ago is a sort of societies fair. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's just the societies fair, clubs and societies fair. And there's 2 huge sports halls where all of our clubs and societies just have a table each, and they pitch themselves to students. And all the new students that are joining, I believe they see 3,000-4,000 students a day, and they run this a couple of times to make sure that everyone's had that opportunity to speak to all of these clubs and societies, to make sure students are aware of what's going on and feel comfortable to engage. Loads of opportunities.
A lighter question.
Yeah.
Every Pakistani student loves cricket. What are the facilities? What are the sports facilities at Durham? Because I know they are excellent.
Yeah, great question. I'm pleased you asked this question about Durham. So we have a newly renovated £32 million we spent on the renovation of our sort of sports facilities at Maiden Castle. We have been sort of ranked number 1 in the UK for team sports, of which cricket is, of course, a team sport. For 10 years, between 2013 to 2023, we've been the best place in the UK to come and engage in team sports. We compete at a national level in 54 different sports.
Exceptional.
Which is phenomenal. We won, I think, 11 championships last year in sports. From the sports that we were competing in. One of those was cricket, indoor cricket, I think. And we're always looking for cricketers from South Asia, from Pakistan included. So if you do have elite cricketers, come and speak to me. The thing I'd add about that is, look, football in the UK is massively popular. Across the university, across our colleges, we have a huge number of football teams. However, actually, Durham itself is just as famous, if not more famous, for cricket. We've got a famous county cricket team in Durham, but Durham doesn't have a famous football team. So if you do have students interested in cricket, Durham's as good a place as any to come and play cricket.
I think you've come to the right place then.
Yeah, and we've had students from Pakistan come and play for our first team as well. So yeah, there's precedent there as well.
Perfect.
So a little bit of a concern is the location. Can you tell us a little bit about how Durham is located and its accessibility for the larger UK?
So we spoke a bit about this at the beginning. It is a small city and it is going to be a completely different vibe to somewhere like London. So if you've got students who want the hustle bustle of the city all the time, Durham maybe can't compete. However, what I will say is we have that peaceful, safer environment as well at Durham, but we're still accessible to the big cities. So London itself is only a 3-hour train ride away, direct into King's Cross from Durham directly into King's Cross in London, or just on our doorstep is Newcastle. Newcastle's about 12 minutes on the train. So it's super easy to get to the city for those that want access to the city. And then they can come back and focus on their studies in Durham.
Okay, excellent. And when it comes to student support, I feel the mental well-being support is exceptionally important, especially for students when they're coming and taking so much on all of a sudden. What kind of support does the university have for students who feel that they are being overburdened?
Yeah, so every university is going to care for their international students, especially because we recognize it is a big step for them and it can be daunting and scary. It's going to be the first time they've been away from home and there's thousands of miles away. So it's not going to be easy. So we have central services at the university. If students are struggling academically and falling behind, they can speak to the department, speak to their tutors. They get an academic tutor from day one assigned to them, so they should have someone they feel comfortable with within their department. Or they can access those support networks at university level. So we have a well-being office, we've got finance office, we've got visa and immigration officers. So regardless of what their concerns or worries might be, they run sessions to help students, whether it's a general session they can drop in as a sort of audience member to participate, or whether they want to like sign up for a one-on-one session to speak to someone for that sort of extra level of help, they can do. I think one thing that sets Durham apart is because of our setup with our colleges, we also offer that kind of support at college level. So they don't have to book an appointment with a central university service, which might feel scary and might put people off. We have mentors in each and every one of our colleges.
That makes a big
they're
difference.
They're seeing these faces on a daily, on a weekly basis around the corridors. So it makes it much easier for us to keep an eye on students, but also hopefully, and we see this, it makes it much more, students can feel much more comfortable coming to us for support because they're much closer to that support and they're in a much more comfortable environment to reach out for that support.
And I feel after the pandemic, this is extremely important because maybe it's not highlighted with everyone, but it is a concern for a lot of students and their parents.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be difficult for people to speak up. Another thing that I learned about fairly recently, actually, is what we call a parent system at the university. And like I was saying, it can be difficult to book an appointment or speak to an adult, I guess, in a sense, because that can be quite scary to them. But this parent system, which operates within our colleges, is where the senior students from their college sort of pair up as parents, and then they will adopt the first year students, and they will be their mentors. So around the college, a new student, a first year student, has someone familiar and knows who they can go to ask questions. And it doesn't have to be if they've got problems with well-being or anything like that. It can just be like, how do I submit my papers? Where do I go to do printing and things like that as well? They have someone who they're introduced to who can help answer these questions as well.
Where to eat the best food?
Where to eat the best food
Yeah.
is a good one,
Yeah.
yes.
That's extremely important.
Yeah.
I believe you have catered halls as well, and you've got non-catered halls. Now, as an international student, especially as Pakistani students, not a lot of the students know how to cook. Would you suggest going to a catered hall or an uncatered hall?
Depends what they're looking for. And I'm not best placed to advise whether they should be cooking for themselves or not. They'll have a better idea than that. Maybe their parents will have a better idea. But like we were saying about university is also an opportunity to learn about themselves. It's also an opportunity for them to step out of that comfort zone as well.
Absolutely.
And that experience of living at university, living independently, will sort of help develop them personally and set them up for their future as well-adjusted adults, for lack of better phrase. And part of that will be having to take care of yourself and doing your own food shopping and doing your own food cooking. So there's lots of benefits for going self-catered as well. But it just depends what students are looking for. If they want something a little bit easier, then catered halls will provide 3 meals per day, every day during term time. It's just much simpler. It's something that it takes away something that they have to think about each week. So that might be more comfortable for them.
Taking a real approach to going to university is extremely important, I feel. I feel that students shouldn't be afraid to explore, to learn new things, because they will be staying on campus because you offer on-campus accommodation in your first year. And in your second year, you have to go out. You have to live in the town. You know, you've got different challenges over there. You've got 4 different dustbins to, put your waste and your garbage in. So you have to be extremely careful. Your electricity, your gas, your water. You kind of have to grow up. And these small little skill sets the university has in place that, you stay there for the first year. But then in your second year, you have to learn a lot more. Then you have to, So this progression, students should not be afraid of. They should take this head on, and they should take it as a learning curve. It's extremely important for students to do that so that they embrace themselves into university. Not only, to go there to get a degree. It's a lot more than that. It's networking. It's socializing. It's the first real step into the real world.
Wholeheartedly agree. Yeah, absolutely. And again, like I said before, the more that they're doing that, the more that they're trying and pushing themselves out of their comfort zone and trying new things and learning new things, just the better and better they're going to set themselves up for after they graduate and they need to find work. They're going to have better skills in communication, those soft skills that you develop through these experiences. It's going to mean they're going to interview better. They're going to feel more comfortable in a professional environment. There's so many benefits to going to university and going through these learning processes than just the classroom education.
I've got a question that I'd like to ask the both of you, and I hope it'll contribute to the audience. If you were to go back into time and join university for your first year, how would you do things differently?
Good question. I think I would probably have a better understanding now as to what sort of career I'd be interested in and what subject I want to study. And I think if I was to study a different subject at this point, it would probably be like psychology or organizational psychology specifically. So in terms of the course itself, that would change. Obviously, I didn't end up in a career in architecture. So whilst that may be seen as a mistake, we've spoken about how it's not a mistake because you learn everything about yourself too. In terms of my approach to university, I benefited from university experience as a learning experience because I'm here today and I'm comfortable talking to you guys, and we've done presentations where I'm stood on a stage and I can speak to an audience. As an 18-year-old entering university, there is no chance I could have done any of that. I am quite a shy, introverted person, actually, and it wasn't until university that I got drawn out of that a little bit, and I really wish I got involved more. And so if I was to turn the clock back to about half of my age and start that again, I would just look to engage myself more, play more sports, get involved in more societies, be more active in the classroom, just all of that, everything that we've been speaking for.
Billy, the first to shift the question to you.
I agree with Matt. So I've got a funny story, actually. When deciding the university and when deciding the program, I was given no choice. I was told very clearly that if you want to go abroad, if you want to go to the only destination you can go to is the UK, because I had a British passport, I didn't require a visa, etc. And the only program that I could go for was engineering, or I was going to study in Pakistan. And I didn't want to study in Pakistan. So I selected engineering. And the skills that I learned, the problem solving ability that I have today is because of the effort that I put in my undergrad. It was not possible without that dedication that I put in. Without that hard work, I don't think I would be the person I am today. And I feel that regardless the situation, you should still try to make the best of it. I can't agree with you more that, I wish I was part of a lot more societies. I've gone on a number of trips that were the debating society, the rock climbing society, just explore England more, the opportunity of going to a Russell Group institution more. That's one of the aspects that I would say I would change. But other than that, I loved my course. I loved the university I was at, Surrey University. Big shout out to it. And I made great friends for life. So, I wouldn't change the aspect of, what I selected. I would tweak the point that I would do more.
I completely agree with that. I think that's exceptional advice. Yeah.
Matt, thank you very, very much for being in Lahore, in Pakistan. Matt's here for a number of days, and we're going to be doing a number of events with Matt. We've got a personal statement workshop on Saturday as well. Yeah. But I believe that's going to be done and dusted once this podcast is out. So you're not going to be able to come to that. But thank you very, very much, and stay tuned, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. It's been a fantastic experience so far. Look, I've only spent 3 days in Pakistan so far, so I'm really looking forward to the rest of my trip. We've been working really closely with Naseem Khan Consultancy, and you've been really supportive of me. So I'm glad that I can also sort of engage in these opportunities as well. So yeah, thanks for having us. It's been fantastic.
No, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And thank you very much, Waleed, for hosting this.
On that note, I would like to conclude today's episode. Thank you for being here with Going Global with Naseem Khan Consultancy. Follow us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and all Instagram, Facebook, etc. Thank you very much, everyone.